You know Gray Bar for electrical parts, but there's one more thing you may not be thinking of us for that can help maximize your next project's total value. Our pre-project planning services are designed to help you win the bid, save on labor costs, and keep your installers productive across your entire build. The sooner you call us, the better. Because when we're there from the beginning, we can anticipate your needs and help you solve problems before they become problems. Yep, Gray Bar does that.
This week's episode, the weirdest one in history of the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. My name is Tyler Vaughn. Sam Dykstra is in New York City, in the former home of the Dodgers, in the borough of Brooklyn, for this week's and the foreseeable week's episodes. Hello, Sam.
Hello. I wish I had something that could be like cheery or something like that. But yes, I am here in New York City at a kitchen table. It's the same question I've been asking everybody lately, and it's how are you? And I asked that of Tyler here, but I asked that of all of you as well. Never have those three words. I shouldn't say never, but rarely have those three words had more meaning in terms of just how are you doing? We hope you're safe. We hope you're at home. Keeping your distance from everybody, and we'll get into this here in a little bit. But we ended last week's show by saying, hey, we'll have some coronavirus updates when they come to us. Just last week when we were talking about this, nothing had been canceled yet. Nothing had been postponed on the baseball side, and a lot has changed since then. But what we care most about with every week, but especially now and going forward, is the safety of all of you listening, hopefully comfortably and safely at home. And everybody in baseball and worldwide.
I will be completely honest with you. I don't even really remember last week's episode, and we recorded a show a week ago. It feels like it was 6 years ago, and that is how the last week has been. And it's tough. I mean, we will be open with you. We're going to try to do our best to be upbeat and provide you some happy stuff to distract from what is now all of our new realities. But it's not easy for any of us, and I know that there are a lot of times when even as grown adults who, as much as I, even prior to this, did not feel like I really deserved the distinction of being a grown adult, I think a lot of us are just trying to figure out our way through every day, not even through this whole crisis as it moves along, but through every momentary interaction that we have with the world around us. And it's not going to be easy. And this podcast at times might feel a little heavier than it normally does. Hopefully today we'll be able to give you some fun reprieve from the way things feel. But it's tough. And, for somebody who already works from home and has worked from home for the last several years for the most part, with the exception of my broadcasting work, this is weird because when you're choosing to do things from home and choosing to be alone, it feels fine. Now I feel like I'm going to lose my mind, and that's tough. And for you guys normally in the office now adjusting to it, I would imagine it's extremely tough. For those of us, and this is a feeling that a ton of people across the baseball world have right now, and the basketball world and the hockey world as well. This does not pertain to my MILB work, but I lost 2/3 of my employment last week when things started being canceled from NCAA sports that have been canceled for the rest of the winter season and the spring season, to international baseball work. 3 days from now, I was supposed to start broadcasting the America's Olympic qualifier in Arizona. I should be at a Cactus League camp right now, and things are tough for all of us. And it's weird because I think 6 years ago when we started this show, I think we just kind of felt like, hey, this will be a great little addition to the world of minor league baseball. And now we have such a loyal and loving and fun group of listeners who feel like family to us. And We're going to do our best to provide you with some smiles and some things that will take your mind off of what may otherwise feel like a struggle. But we're going to try to get through it the same way you're trying to get through it, which is we don't really know how. So hopefully we'll be able to do some of that and just trying to sound and feel normal, talking about baseball and talking about logos and uniforms and players and transactions and all that type of stuff. It's already helped a little bit with what we've been able to record so far today, but bear with us because we're going to be doing this just alongside you guys as we all try to figure out how to make our way in a very changed world. But it's certainly not anything that we have really done before in any way. Like, obviously, we've had some episodes that have dealt with more serious issues than just the norm, but this is, I don't have words for it.
Yeah, and that's one thing that we have to keep coming back to. We should lay out exactly what's gone on here. If you're living under a rock and somehow listening to this show for news, welcome in. Great.
You're a strange
that's
person.
Great that you trust it. Yeah, that's great that you trust us in that way. But for everybody who doesn't know, and most of you who do, it's worth repeating anyways. Last week, spring training was canceled very shortly after we published our episode. There's no more Grapefruit or Cactus League. Teams are shutting down facilities in spring training. Nobody's really being able to hang out or work out anymore, at least in a formal setting in Florida or Arizona. The Major League Baseball opening day was originally postponed 2 weeks, at least 2 weeks. Since that has been extended a little while, the Center for Disease Control has recommended that nobody gather in groups of more than 50 for the next 8 weeks. That might be 7 weeks now from when they said that. So Major League Baseball pushed that back even further, as you're probably knowing and hearing from everywhere. You really shouldn't be in a group of more than 10 anywhere anyways. Obviously, that affects minor league baseball as well. Right now, minor league opening day was scheduled for April 9th. That's being pushed back indefinitely. We don't have a timetable on that. Lots of things have to come into place for that. Some people might know, you might not know, that the gulf between Major League Opening Day and Minor League Opening Day this year was 2 weeks, which is larger than normal. It used to be a couple days. Now it was 2 weeks. So just when I was getting to camp was a couple days after some minor leaguers had just reported to their regular spring trainings. They were just getting going. They hadn't even played games yet. Now they have to shut it down, go home. In most cases, stay around, try to get some workouts in other cases, but they're going to have to ramp up even more so than the major league players will once we all get the go ahead. But what this really comes down to is safety. It's the safety of the players. We've already seen 2 minor leaguers in Yankees camp test positive for the coronavirus. It doesn't sound like anything's that worrisome with their health, but the entire minor league side of Yankees camp is going under self-quarantine. Those guys are staying in hotel rooms. They're getting meals every day. We don't want that to spread. That's why all of our writers are working out of home. That's why a lot of minor league front offices are all working out of home now. We're trying to contain this the best we can. If you are able, please stay at home. We don't want this spreading further than it is. As much sadness as this brings to all of us in baseball, that we are not here talking about who is making the Chicago White Sox rotation, or is so-and-so prospect going to make the Dodgers out of camp. It's really for the best of everybody. That's what we keep coming down to, safety. When it touches baseball like it has, baseball is not immune. Minor league baseball is not immune. And, we're going to get through these next couple weeks. Just like everybody else, we're going through this one day at a time like everybody else. We've got a show here for you now. We're very excited for it. Tyler said we already recorded a couple of segments of it, and we enjoy being this distraction for you while we can, but we're also going to keep you updated on what we hear and what's going on across minor league baseball. And if there's anything you guys want to hear from us specifically, no more important time than now. We have a lot of shows to fill coming up. We're going to try to get creative with some of those shows, but we're also going to try to keep the information coming from you or for you guys. So if there's something you want to hear, you can find us on Twitter, at Tyler Mon, at Sam Dykstra MILB. We have our email address podcast@milb.com. If there's some special episode you guys want us to do, we're batting around some ideas now on that front. If there's a minor leaguer you want to hear from and what they're doing, if there's a minor league team you want to hear from, we've got some ideas on that front as well, but we're welcoming to that. We want to make this a show for you guys like we do every week, and keep you guys up to date, keep you guys informed, but keep you guys having fun wherever you are, hopefully safe in the world.
Baseball's 43rd ranked prospect, Kristian Robinson, will join the show coming up here in a little bit. The top prospect in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization. We're excited to talk with Kristian coming up here just shortly. And as Sam said, I echo everything he said. And it gives us an opportunity to be creative and be fun and do some stuff like that. But the overarching message from all of this should be, please heed the warnings, the advice, the recommendations that you're hearing from the CDC and from your state and local agencies as well. This is not a joke. It is not a hoax. It is not something that is overblown. This is a real deal event, and it is a societally changing event, and it puts a lot of things in perspective. I think on the one hand, I always used to joke with people working a job as a sportscaster and a writer, and I kind of regret making this joke now, but I always used to joke, if the apocalypse hits, this is like the first industry that's going to go. It's not like me talking about sports on the radio or writing about things really anything that the world is hinging on. And yet simultaneously, even while things change, it's neat for us to see how much we all love sports and how that continues to carry us through. And, I see friends of mine on social media who are watching English Premier League soccer stuff Indian Premier League soccer stuff the other day because they have not yet shut down sports there. They're following anything they can that resembles live sports and just desperately wanting us to stay engaged. And I think that feels cool for us, that this is part of the community for a reason, that sports are part of the community for a reason. And when we get back, hopefully sooner rather than later, to some normalcy when it comes to sports, I don't think we'll ever take any of it for granted again. And that's the silver lining that I know I'm clinging to. But more importantly than anything, please be safe, practice social distancing, wash your hands, do the things that you are being told to do. It's not worth it. I understand that everybody loves St. Patrick's Day. It is not worth it to go out and have drinks and risk spreading something to somebody who is vulnerable. My mom is 72 years old and has asthma, and I am terrified as to what that means. So I'm trying to keep her bubble wrapped in her house, and she annoyingly refuses to listen to me in large part. But those are the important things. Your health is the important thing. You're not going to watch baseball anymore if you are not healthy coming out of something like this, and that's what we want to impart to people more than anything. So CDC.gov obviously has recommendations day to day. Even professional leagues and teams and the videos I know that, a lot of leagues have been posting on, hey, here's how you wash your hands, or here is this star who wants to tell you this way to be safe or whatever. Just take all of that seriously. Unfortunately, there is a tie to this, as Sam noted, on the baseball side in MILB, which is that two New York Yankees minor leaguers have tested positive for COVID-19. The team first confirmed that back on Sunday with the initial positive test for one prospect. On Tuesday, they announced a second player who had been under self-quarantine and then started to tell team personnel that he felt fatigued and had a fever. That player has since tested positive for COVID-19. We certainly wish our best to those two guys. Two things about this. One, certainly we wish our best to those two guys who are in isolation and thankfully have had those symptoms dissipate. Number two, and this is a sentiment that I think stems from frustration with me, and yet also I think just goes to show the larger message of this illness. I am a little bit irritated by the rush for media outlets to declare that this prospect did not have contact with anyone on the major league side, because it doesn't matter. The fact that this young man was infected with this virus and infected at least one other teammate, what does it matter if they were major leaguers or minor leaguers? And that has irritated me. These guys' lives on the minor league side are just as valuable and as valued by their families, by their friends, by their teammates, by their organization as anyone else. And the fact that it was pointed out so quickly, oh, well, don't worry, he didn't have any contact with the major league side, that irritates me because these guys' lives are important. And I think the more overarching point to that is that this virus does not care who you are. It doesn't care if you're on the minor league side. It doesn't care if you're at Steinbrenner Field. It doesn't care if you're anywhere. It can infect anyone. The symptoms can be horrible, even if you are young. It can claim your life, even if you are young. And that is something that people need to take seriously. And I think, we look at Kevin Durant. Kevin Durant hasn't been healthy, hasn't been playing basketball the entire season. He's got it. Rudy Gobert, who unfortunately has been kind of turned into a pariah for this issue because of the way he acted with his joking about not having the virus and touching the microphones and frankly acting like kind of an idiot, which he admitted. This stuff is serious, and it's horrible that we are discussing this with two guys in professional baseball having been infected, but it goes to show it doesn't matter who you are or where you are. This thing is here, and you have to be smart about it. And we obviously share and continue to give all of our best thoughts and wishes to the families of both of these guys and these players. We are unaware of their identities. It doesn't matter as to their identities. What matters is that they get better and that it helps us all to learn that this is a real issue for all of us.
Yeah, no, that goes back to what I was saying too before. Baseball is not immune from this. None of us are immune from it until a vaccine, and we need to rely on medical workers, medical experts to get us to that place. My sister is a nurse. She works every couple days at a hospital in Worcester, Massachusetts. She's taking all the necessary precautions to be okay. But this is an infectious disease. This is something that spreads. It doesn't take much to get from one person to another. So just heed the call. We'll be here for you. The fun will still happen. But take this as seriously as you can. We're coming to you straight into your homes for a reason. We're not inviting you out to the ballpark to gather around and listen to our stories. We'll come to you. You stay there. You stay safe. And hopefully in a couple weeks, months, what have you, we'll all be out of this and safe and healthy and looking forward to a promising 2020 season.
We do have a lot of good stuff coming up on the show today. Kristian Robinson, as noted, the top prospect in the D-backs organization, is on the way. Benjamin Hill, we haven't talked to for the last 2 weeks. Ben was out of town, and then we had our spring training stuff getting started and all that. We'll hear from Ben in a little bit. And then this is a segment that Sam and I have been discussing for the last couple of months, and unfortunately now it starts in a scenario where, frankly, we need to add a segment because we're not really going to be able to do 3 strikes. Here's 3 topics from spring training this week to talk about. But Sam and I have been discussing for a while that we wanted to start incorporating our writers from MILB.com more from week to week. We get so much good stuff put up on the site, and we will probably start going back through some of the stuff from the offseason that we have had up on the site that maybe you've missed. But Rob Terranova will join us here in a little while to discuss a story that he's got up on the site as of today. We're recording on Wednesday the 18th on White Sox pitching prospect Zack Burdi, who's kind of fallen off the radar a little bit over the last couple of seasons due to injuries. But we'll be hearing from our writers a lot more, which is going to be a lot of fun for us and hopefully a lot of fun for you as well. And as Sam noted, if you have ideas, if you got questions, if you've got thoughts, if you've got concepts of what you think would be fun to hear us talk about on the show, get in touch. Podcast at MILB.com, at Sam Dykstra, MILB for Sam, and I'm on Twitter at Tyler Mon, and we'll have some fun with it. And we're all here with you, and we love you for however long you've been tuned into this show. It has been incredible to us, the following that we've been able to gain over the 5-6 years now that we've done this show. I think earlier I said 4 or 5, now I'm saying 5 or 6. I'm just going to start adding every time for the 16, 17 years we've done this show, it's been great gaining this following. But get in touch. We're a family for a reason with minor league baseball, and we are our own certain brand of weird, obviously, as you've probably come to know listening to this show over the last 10, 11 years. And so if you've got some stuff that you want us to do or talk about or cover or whatever it is, get in touch, and we'll be happy to oblige. Does that sound good for a first segment? Should I toss to this Kristian Robinson? Is that what
I think so. Yes.
Let's do it. Kristian Robinson, the top prospect in the D-backs organization, coming up. Well, we are headed to the desert, and the Arizona Diamondbacks' top-ranked prospect on this week's episode of the Show Before the Show, as outfielder Kristian Robinson joins us, who is still in Arizona, a baseball product of the Bahamas. We'll talk about that coming up here in a little bit. Kristian, first off, man, thank you so much for doing this. Obviously, it's a very strange week, but we really appreciate you giving us some time today.
Yeah, thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely, man. So tell us about the last week for you guys. We recorded our last episode a week ago today, so on Wednesday the 11th, and obviously starting that night in the NBA, and then subsequently the NHL and Major League Soccer the next day, and then, of course, the Major League Baseball decision. There has been so much. We were talking in our last segment. It feels like every day has lasted about a month since last week. But for you guys, last Thursday and Friday and into the weekend and now into this week, tell us about how you first, were kind of informed by the organization as to what the plan was right now, and what these last several days have been like for you since baseball operations were suspended.
Yeah, I think there's only like one word to really describe it, and I think that's what we're all thinking right now. It's just like everything that's going on is so strange. We're not used to, this kind of pandemic and, just everything shutting down. So being able to just soak that in and realize that it's happening and, we're going to be away from baseball for a while. That was something I had to take in. But, I mean, life is so much bigger than sports. So that I'm one to stand by that, and I'm not worried too much about as far as, when we're going to pick up again or, what's going on in the sports world. The number one thing right now is to stay healthy. And I'm going to do as much as I can to keep my family healthy, myself. And right now that's socially distancing myself. So that's what I'm doing.
And as Tyler mentioned, and as you mentioned to us before you came on, you're still in Arizona. What is your kind of short-term plan right now? Because a lot of people are going back home, traveling far and wide. You're sticking nearby. What are your days like right now, and what is the plan just for the next couple of days and next couple of weeks even?
I've kind of used the first few days since we heard the news to take some time off. We were going pretty much like every day since we found out. So, I took the weekend, took some time off, recovered a little bit, and then from here on out, I'm just going to play it by ear, talk to the front office, talk to staff, talk to whoever's out there right now and see what's going on, and find, if I have to find someone to train with or, find a place to train with, I'll do that. But right now I'm just playing it by ear.
Kristian, what did the reactions of most of your fellow prospects been? I know, obviously, last week the word came down that players could go home if they wanted to. They were also welcome to stay at the facilities. Organized activities are not permitted at the moment, but you guys are still allowed to be there and use, the weight rooms and cages and all that kind of stuff. What have your teammates' reactions been, and how many have been able to stick around with you in Arizona?
I haven't spoken to my teammates too much about it, and I know there's a good number of guys that's still here working out at the facility. A lot of guys, they go home, and it was unfortunate because I think a lot of guys flew out like the day before we found out or the day of. So that was unfortunate that they had to come all the way up here and go back home. But as far as the reaction goes, everyone's just kind of shocked. I don't think anyone's upset or angry with the decisions that's being made. But yeah, I think we're all just kind of taking the time to realize that this is real. But at the same time, it doesn't really stop. I don't think it really stops everyday activity as much as something that was truly threatening. It is threatening as a virus, but you don't see it. It doesn't affect you physically. So, we kind of just go on about a day right now. And that's pretty much all we're doing.
And when you guys did find out that this was going on, I know you mentioned some people had just flown in, and that's pretty heartbreaking to find out about turning right around. Where were you in your progression of getting prepared for the 2020 season?
I was well in. I mean, we've been at early camp since, and we started on the 17th of February. So we were well in, probably about a month into training, working out, playing games, trying to get some live ABs, some live reads out the back of the outfield. So I was feeling pretty good. And right now I'm trying to do my best to keep that up. Still trying to get some reps in the outfield, still trying to get a lot of reps in the cage, off the machine right now, just staying with my timing. But it's limited, that's for sure.
Kristian, let's talk about some things that are a little bit more fun and think about actual baseball stuff. Last season, you get to play 69 games between two different levels in Class A, short season Hillsborough and full season Kane County. And with Hillsborough in the Northwest League, you tear up that circuit. 319, 407, 558/line. 9 homers at that level, which was more than you did in your debut season, and you did it in 13 fewer games last year. To have that start and be able to go to the Northwest League and do it at 18 years old and be that successful, what do you think the biggest key was to that? Obviously, when you sign and you get into pro ball, that first year is always crazy, which was 2018 for you, and then last year you take off so quickly. What do you attribute that to?
Just finding that groove, finding what works for me every day, finding my routine, sticking with it, trusting in it. I found my swing really early in the season. I kind of lost it, and I got it back early in the season. And I tried to do everything to just keep it and make sure it didn't go anywhere. And that was through just like my normal routine, my daily routine in the cage. My mentality going up to the plate kind of kept that simple. So, yeah, that was the biggest thing. Just making sure I have my key points to hit before 7 o'clock every day.
And when you talk about finding your swing, one of the big things for you is your power potential. You played last year, the entire year at age 18. You didn't turn 19 until December. That puts those numbers even to bigger context. But when things are going right for you offensively and you feel like you're able to play into your full potential, what does that look like? What kind of markers are you looking for up at the plate to know you are locked in?
I think it goes back to what I just said, keeping it simple. Just knowing that, I know I could do a lot of damage if I had to stick in my zone, stick with what I do best, and that's just, hitting the strikes, hitting the ball on the middle, hitting the mistake. And I feel like I capitalized a lot last year on the mistakes, and when you do, it looks well, it looks great like how it did last year, and if you don't, then that's when you have to struggle. But yeah, just keeping it as simple as I can, narrowing it down to just, seeing my pitch in the middle of the plate and just taking a swing at it, taking a hack, and seeing what happens.
Kristian, you get up to Kane County, and making that jump from short season ball to full season ball is always maybe the most challenging in the minor leagues, one of the most challenging in the minor leagues. But you hold your own, and especially finishing well toward the end of the season. I know you had a good run there at the latter stages of August. Going from Hillsborough to Kane County, what was the biggest difference in that jump in levels for you and for how pitchers approached you and all that type of stuff? What was the biggest difference between those two sides?
Yeah, it was a huge adjustment. And I'm actually thankful for it. I think that was something I really needed, and I think it didn't come at a better time. When I'm doing really well in Hillsborough, I go to Kane, and it kind of just seems to plummet, and I have to find out what to do to get back in the mix and get back in the game. So. I think the biggest thing was just the pitchers, how they throw, how they pitch in different counts. They tend to switch stuff up there, and I noticed that that was something I didn't know, but I found out and I had to adjust to. And I tried to do my best at the end of the year, and I finished pretty well. And that's something that I could take from the table heading into this season.
And just one of the things you had to prepare for last year was kind of going from April. I know you started out at Hillsborough, so you were hung back a little bit at extended, but still getting ready for a full season and trying to play that out, trying to be ready every day just in case they call you up to Kane County a little early. What was it like just trying to build on that? Because you were basically the age of a high school senior here in the States. What was the most eye-opening thing about just the length of the season last year?
I don't think there was anything to it. It was just, you go in, you have your plan for that day, and you just you stick to that and you focus on that, and you don't look at the longevity of the season. I mean, the baseball season is so long on its own. To stress it out and make it even worse is to, try and look at how long the span is of the season and how you're gonna make it through it. So I think just to think day in, day out what you're gonna do, and to be present. That's the number one thing. That helped me a lot, just to be present in every moment, and I think that was something, I didn't say it before, but I think that was something that helped me too in Hillsborough, was just being present in every at-bat. So I try to stay present. I try to not focus on the longevity of the season, how long the games are, how many games we have, just pitch by pitch.
Kristian, your background as a product of Nassau in the Bahamas, we've talked with other guys who grew up in that environment and become top prospects. Obviously, Jazz Chisholm coming out a couple years before you and signing with the D-backs, and then you get your ticket, and now in your third season in pro ball coming into this year. What was the road to get you into baseball? There's so much talent coming out of there now, and it's been so cool the last few years. We've seen the home run derbies and top prospects who have gone over to take part in stuff in the Bahamas. Tell us about being a kid and growing up and getting into baseball, and also kind of what baseball is like in the Bahamas now, especially with so much talent coming out of there, and how I would imagine that probably really excites kids who want to get into the sport.
Well, I started playing when I was about 5, and it's an amateur league. You play. My dad brought me up in that league, and then thankfully there was a group of well-gifted guys that wanted to share their knowledge and give them information and help young guys like me come up. And, thankfully I fell in the arms of those guys, and, they guided me and they told me everything that I need to do to make it to the level that I want to go to, that I want to get at. So, I just trusted in those guys. I won't say their names just to keep it confidential, but, I had a lot of trust in those guys and their plan for me. And, it was day in, day out, just going to the field, getting my work in. I call it the dog days, the days where, no one sees you working. It's, you're tired, you're feeling worn out, but you got to keep going. And I had those days when I was younger and fought through them. And that was something that helped me just see the vision in baseball that I kind of saw for myself. And it was just something that was I'm sorry, I lost my train of thought, but
happens to me all the time on the shows.
It was just something that was nerve-wracking. You didn't know what you were getting yourself in. I didn't know what I was getting myself into. I didn't know what the baseball world was like. I just knew I wanted to play. Didn't really know, where I was going to be, when I was going to start. Just wanted to play baseball, and that's something I kind of stuck with.
Yeah, and then I'll kind of picking up off that based off, your native Bahamas. From what I've read, players from the Bahamas are eligible to play for Great Britain in the World Baseball Classic. There are some qualifiers coming up for that. That's been put on pause. I won't ask about playing for Great Britain necessarily, but could you envision a day if we'll put eligibility requirements over to the side, but do you think there could be a day between yourself, Jazz Chisholm, Lucius Fox, Deshaun Knowles, and the Los Angeles Angels system where the Bahamas could basically field a team itself in the World Baseball Classic and be really competitive, let's say in 5 years or so?
Yeah, I definitely thought about that. I mean, I don't know if this, I'll go out and say it. I don't think it's confidential, but I was actually signed up to go and play with Great Britain in the World Baseball Classic, qualify this month, but it got postponed because of the virus. But yeah, I've had thoughts about that. Just trying to think about the pieces of the puzzle that we need to put together to make this thing happen. I know we have a lot of good guys right now that's playing, and we have a lot of talent, but we kind of have to have a plan and see if this thing could really happen.
Kristian, being in a circumstance where you could play on the international stage like that, and obviously it's tough, right now. It should be going on right now. I mean, the first round of those qualifiers was supposed to be going on right now in Tucson, and it's on hold for the moment. But what excites you about the possibility to play in an international competition like that? The World Baseball Classic has done such a great job over the last few years, I think, in really highlighting, especially that 2017 edition, of just how good that event can be. Being a person who was committed and is going to be part of those qualifiers when they happen, what excites you about being able to play in an event like that versus just being able to play professionally?
Yeah, I talked to one of the guys who was on the team in 2017, Albert Cartwright, and he just said that it's totally different, man. It's something special just being on the team with your buddies. There was a lot of Bahamian guys on that team, so you got to experience that moment with a lot of them. But with the guys who are going to be on this team, he said just being able to experience that moment with them is something that you can't duplicate. It's not something that you feel. And he played in the minors with the Phillies, so he knows. And he said it's not something. It's not like your minor league team, in a playoff run with them. It doesn't even compare. So and that's all I'm accustomed to right now. So I was looking forward to it, but unfortunately it was postponed. And I'm hoping that we get the news on when it's gonna start up again, and I'll be ready for that time.
And just jumping back to your relationship with the D-backs organization, you signed with them out of the Bahamas back in July 2nd, 2017, right when the international market opened. In those last 3 years, and especially this last year, the D-backs have become a really strong system, especially at the outfield spot, adding Corbin Carroll in last year's draft, adding Alec Thomas in the draft before that. How have you seen the D-back system and organization grow in just your almost 3 years with that system?
Definitely evolving. I mean, just seeing the guys that I came up with, now, I came up with Perdomo. Perdomo was just in the fall league. He was just in big league camp this year. Being able to see that, it makes you realize that, things are changing around there, things are evolving, and we're coming up and we're coming strong. And, I kind of felt it back in 2018, my first pro season, when I played with those guys in AZL, and just looking around the dugout, just looking on the field, watching them play, it was just like there's something really special about this group. I came up with Alec, and he was number one last year, and he had a really good season last year, and they're doing something special and they're working towards something. So, out to the D-backs fans, I just hope that they're keeping that trust in us and hoping that it turns around in a few years to come.
All right, Kristian, well, we'll end on this one. I was asking this question of a couple of guys in spring training last week before the cancellation came, and I think this question is even more pertinent now since it's going to be a while until minor league baseball comes back. But based on your experience, whether it's the AZL, whether it's Hillsborough, whether it's Kane County, what is your favorite minor league story or memory?
My favorite minor league story or memory. That's a hard one. Let's see. My first game, my first pro game in front of like a legitimate audience. You know what I mean? A legitimate crowd. It was in Missoula, 2018, a couple of years ago, and I remember it was a home game. It was my first game, and it was pretty crowded. It was like Friday night, so all the kids are out, and I just remember like the first play, like the first inning. I was really nervous. I was hoping like, oh, I hope I don't miss a fly ball, or they hit a fly ball at me and I get a bad read or something like that. But there were 2 outs, and this guy hit a laser to Blaze and shortstop, Blaze Alexander. And I remember he just jumped up and caught it. And I just remember like the crowd just bursts of noise. The screams, the clapping. I just remember that reaction, and I was just like this is really football. Like, this is something different. So that was probably my favorite moment. Something that stuck with me ever since.
That is awesome. That is an awesome story. And that is all the stuff that we're hoping to get back to way sooner rather than later. And Kristian Robinson, the top-ranked prospect in the Arizona Diamondbacks organization, who is still in AZ and getting set to go for whenever things get rolling, and whether it's in Kane County or Visalia or making that climb up to the higher levels this year. Kristian, best of luck in 2020. Obviously, stay safe and stay healthy, and we'll see you back on a field sooner rather than later. And thanks so much for making the time for us today, man.
All right, thank you. Appreciate it.
It was a different world when we last spoke with Benjamin Hill on the Show Before the Show podcast from MILB.com. But thankfully, Ben has returned. Ben was out of the office, and then we had spring training stuff going on, and now it's a much different conversation than we were anticipating having on March 18th. But Ben, it's good to talk to you. Welcome back, man.
Hey, thanks, Tyler, and thanks, Sam. Sam, I'm used to sitting next to you in a workplace conference room, but of course, for a whole host of reasons, that's not the case right now. A lot of social distance going on right now. But I hope we can have social togetherness, through the sound of our voices. I'm in Pennsylvania right now, visiting my mom, suburban Pennsylvania, standing in an open field, and there is no one within at least, I don't see another living soul. I might be the last person left in the world. So I'm going to stand in this field in suburban Pennsylvania, and let's just talk about whatever we need to talk about.
There we go. That works. I like that idea. Well, let's dive into it. Ben, of course, is our guru for all things business of baseball. And the weird thing is, right now, the business of baseball in the minor leagues is very much in uncharted territory. And Ben, right now, it's strange because we simultaneously want to ask you about what all everybody is doing, and yet people can't really do anything. I mean, teams are all working remotely. There are team stores closed, and ticket offices closed, and front offices closed, and all that. I mean, what has the general tenor been of what you have heard from most people, and what the last week has been like?
Yeah, I think it's just imagine how you feel right now, not just you, Tyler, but you, the person listening. Imagine how you felt this week and all the uncertainty with how to proceed. I think that's where everyone is, and I think that's where obviously minor league baseball as an industry is. Dealing with, okay, we're not going to start on time, and okay, it's going to be even later than we thought, and okay, we shouldn't even, be working out of our offices really, unless it's completely essential. And so I think we've seen in minor league baseball teams doing what we've seen companies, businesses, essentially quote unquote non-essential personnel doing all over the country. Been seeing Instagram collages of different front office members, work from home setup, teams doing what they can. There has been that kind of surreal thing. You're on Twitter and, there's all this stuff about, the state of the world. And then there's a minor league team that's just like, hey, tickets are still on sale for, all games, from June on. And, so I think teams are trying to do business as usual, when they can, getting that message out there that obviously that once baseball starts, once minor league baseball starts, like anything else, if you appreciate something more when you have to miss it more than you expected. So I think teams are just trying to right now adjust. And I think in the near future, we'll see, more strategies emerge. We'll see, I think, kind of goofy things that they can do to just, get people's attention, whether it's playing video games, going back through the archives, broadcasters telling stories or, sharing their favorite clips. We're all just improvising right now, and, we'll all figure it out too. It's going to be okay.
Yeah, and what you've seen so far from teams going about this and all that kind of stuff, or maybe things you've heard about from front office members talking here and there. Does there seem like there's going to be any sort of theme of how to go about this? Do you think, or can you envision, not necessarily based on conversations, but based on your expertise of this, can you envision kind of a cohesive effort here in terms of everybody collaborating, almost having, we talk about the winter meetings or the promo seminar or something like that, coming together from a distance, obviously, of ideas and how all leagues, all teams can kind of get through this with a similar strategy?
Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see that as things progress. In the minor league baseball office in St. Pete, I think is going to have some kind of overall dictates and directives over the kind of general tone to strike and messages to prioritize. So it'll be interesting going forward as we figure all this out. But right now, I think it's, kind of like I said, just, one day at a time, trying to just figure out like more, kind of like what I'm doing. Like, what's it like working from home every day? Or in my case, what's it like working from my mom's condo every day? I think everyone's just kind of easing into their specific situation, and, more big picture initiatives will emerge, I'd say, sooner than later. And I think just like anything else, even when things are abnormal, you want as much a sense of normalcy as possible. So it's good to have things to focus on, and that'll come about soon enough.
Ben, one thing that we have discussed on this show in episodes and years past is a lifelong streak of yours that has now been broken. I shouldn't say lifelong, but since 1995, I think, streak of yours. You watched The Sandlot. You had never seen The Sandlot, and now with all of the craziness in the world, that time finally arrived for you, and God knows we need something fun to talk about. And so your breakdown of The Sandlot, I need to hear. Obviously, I would think that the hype or the anticipation of that from all of the people surrounding you who have probably for your entire life said, "You've never seen The Sandlot?" That probably built it up to a level that I can't imagine any movies reach. But I want the review of it.
Well, Tyler, to clarify, I have still not seen it.
Oh, you haven't watched it yet?
I have decided to watch it. These things take time.
I really thought I saw the tweet like at the end of last week, like I'm finally going to watch The Sandlot, and I just assumed like that you were tweeting that as the opening credits were rolling.
No, I just meant I commit to doing it, and I've committed further. So the story with this is, I think it was it just last season, 2 seasons ago, 2018 season, was Sandlot 25th anniversary, and there were Sandlot promotions all over minor league baseball. Squints, the actor Chauncey Leopardi was at ballparks all over the country in particular, but there were dozens and dozens of Sandlot promos, a lot of Sandlot discussion. And through the course of that season, as I was writing about it and talking about teams doing Sandlot promos, I just kind of dropped like, you know what, I never saw this movie. I just never saw it. And to be honest, now that I'm an adult, it doesn't seem that appealing. And people are like, oh my God, how can you be a baseball writer? How can you be a fan of our national pastime? How can you be an American? How can you believe in God and not having seen The Sandlot? So I was like, okay. And then it just became like on Twitter does, just jokes. The Sandlot would get referenced and someone would tag me and be like, Ben's Biz wouldn't know, that kind of thing. And then I've just been kind of milking it and drawing it out and making that part of my shtick, the baseball writer who hasn't seen The Sandlot. It's not the best shtick, but hey, we all need a shtick. And that one was working for me a little bit. But now desperate times call for desperate measures. We're going to go without baseball for a while. And I said, you know what? I'm going to watch The Sandlot. Did I watch The Sandlot? No. But I'm going to watch The Sandlot 1. And 2, I decided it's going to be March 26th. And that is when MLB opening day was supposed to be. And 3, please follow me on Twitter, @BensBiz. We'll have some more discussions. But I will let everyone know when I'm watching this. Maybe we can have some sort of group watch, anyone who wants to. I don't know how it works, Google Hangouts or WeWatch.com or I don't know what. But I think it'd be cool if as many people in the minor league baseball world as possible all sit down and watch The Sandlot at the same time. It'll be my first time. It might be someone else's 50th time. But I think it'd be a fun way to pass the time on what would have been Major League Baseball opening day.
Are there any other movies we can do this with? Like, I know we're taking everything one day at a time, so I guess we got to take everything one baseball movie at a time. But is there any other baseball movie you haven't seen that we could maybe do like a preview or coming attraction to beyond Sandlot? Something for minor league opening day, maybe?
Yeah, well, I guess the next one for me that I've never seen, which is probably equally as offensive as The Sandlot, is I never saw League of Their Own either. So maybe that's another one I should see. You know, I don't really like baseball movies that much. Is that like something I shouldn't say? But like Field of Dreams, I loved it as a kid, and then I watched it as an adult, and I could not stand it. And now I feel like sacrilegious saying this, but I didn't like it at all. Like maybe because I read the book.
That's like the old man baseball writers. Not saying you. I'm saying like there is a cottage industry in old man baseball writing on the national landscape of is Field of Dreams good or bad? But I think you have a correctly nuanced take in that at one time in life for people, I think it was probably amazing, and now you watch it at a different time of life and it's not good. But it's mind-numbing sometimes how that movie, just the opinions that people have to have about Field of Dreams for whatever reason is somewhat exhausting. It's also a very good joke in the British sitcom Peep Show about Field of Dreams, in which Mark says to Jeremy, one of the main characters, "Your inspiration is Field of Dreams, a movie about a man who builds a baseball pitch in his garden." Because it's British and it's a pitch in a garden. It's, you know, Field of Dreams I have actually shied away from rewatching since I was like in high school, because I have good memories of Field of Dreams. I remember liking it, and now I don't want to watch it and hate it and be crotchety, angry old guy.
Yeah, that's what happened to me. And I'd read the book, and in the book, the James Earl Jones character is J.D. Salinger.
Yeah.
And then
yes.
So that was kind of hard to reconcile that.
The book is very good, and we're all stuck inside forever. So if you can get a copy of Shoeless Joe, or you can download it somewhere, it is a very good book.
It is, and so I was having trouble kind of reconciling the two. And you know, in the movie, the James Earl Jones character had kind of a black radical past, and it was kind of hard for me to reconcile him and his character with this kind of sepia tone nostalgia for an era baseball that was segregated. And I don't feel like they really reconciled those things. Maybe I'm now getting way too into it and thinking way too much, but I was kind of like, I don't know. I don't think he'd be that into this. But man, all right, let's talk about this.
Well, no, I just want to throw this out real quick because I have thought about this before, and Tyler brought up the book, and I too have read the book. Would all of these arguments happen? Would we all have this nostalgia for this Kevin Costner picture if it stuck to the original title, if it was just called Shoeless Joe? Field of Dreams feels, it has its own aura to it. Whatever. If it was just Shoeless Joe, if that was that's the only change we're making. We're just calling it Shoeless Joe instead, and almost by definition, the focus changes to the guys coming out of the corn. Do we care about that movie differently? Do we even have this debate?
I'm gonna interject a point here because there is a real world parallel for this. The Shawshank Redemption, when that movie came out, did not really do well in the theaters at all. And I've read some stuff that subsequently there was a lot of analysis that people thought it may have been to how underwhelming that name was. And when people saw a listing for it, or they saw the movie poster with Morgan Freeman and Tim Robbins just like staring vaguely off camera, nobody knew what it was about. Nobody understood the story. Nobody had any concept of how good it would be from the name. And then all of a sudden it gets to VHS and it's running on cable and it's, blowing up in the late 90s and early 2000s, and now it's a classic. But when that movie came out, it really wasn't that well received, or at least that widely received by audiences. So that's a good point. Maybe that is a movie called Shoeless Joe. Certainly I don't think strikes the same heartstrings as Field of Dreams as a title.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Just to pick up on that too, I guess, to answer my own question, but piggybacking off what you said, Tyler, we just had another example of that last year with Dr. Sleep, which was the sequel to The Shining, but nobody knew it was the sequel to The Shining because it's not The Shining 2.
Yeah, it wasn't called Shining 2, more Shining in.
I was going to say Shininger, but yeah, sure. Shinier. Yeah, but that is a good point. I don't know. It's interesting. We could play this game all summer or all spring if we needed to in terms of movie titles, but just something to think about with Field of Dreams.
I like it.
It is. There's a lot to think about. Yeah, I'll try to think of other examples of that. That's good. But, yeah, to bring it back somewhat to the main point, I'm going to watch The Sandlot on March 26th and maybe League of Their Own after that. And we can argue about baseball movies, you know, a lot. So, hey, hit me up on Twitter if you want to talk about baseball movies or literally anything else at Ben's Biz. I'd appreciate it. And I do really, you know, all sarcasm, all jokes, all snark, all everything aside, I really do like communicating with people at all times, especially this time. You know, we've got a community around us, and I think it's a good time to utilize it.
Benjamin Hill is on Twitter at Ben's Biz, on Instagram at TheBen'sBiz. It also kind of surprises me that, you know, talking about, obviously, The Sandlot, a classic for baseball comedy, Field of Dreams, you know, it's a baseball relational movie, fathers and sons and mothers and daughters and all that kind of stuff. A League of Their Own with the All-American Girls Professional League. It sort of surprises me that there has not been a dive into Negro Leagues baseball in a cinematic sense. And evidently there was a movie back in 1996 starring McKelty Williamson called Soul of the Game, which was somewhat about it, but also somewhat about the integration of Major League Baseball. And kind of leads me to a plug that we are certainly not getting paid for. But if you have never seen the Ken Burns baseball series, I discovered a couple of weeks ago, actually probably about a month ago now, that was on Amazon Prime. It has now been added to the PBS app. Evidently, Ken Burns, he tweeted this out last night, posted it on social media. He requested that PBS make it available for streaming for people now, since there is a delayed start to the baseball season. If you have not watched that, it's incredible. It's obviously much longer than all of us sitting around and being able to watch it together, but that's another one. So we're here to bring you some options to keep your baseball mind somewhat occupied. And Benjamin Hill is one of the best dudes in being able to do that and get in touch with Ben. And thanks, man, for joining us from what sounds like an idyllic Pennsylvania field. And we'll talk next week. And next week will be like T-minus 1 day until your viewing of The Sandlot. So we'll all be very excited for that.
Yeah, we're getting closer and closer, and so much joy and uncertainty and anxiety awaits. It's a whole stew of emotions.
It's all great.
But we're in this together.
Everything's great, but we're in it together. Thanks, Ben.
Thanks, guys.
Rolling along on this week's episode of the show, we continue diving in with MILB.com's own writers, and Rob Terranova joins the show for a story that he's got up on the site as of right now. You can go check it out at MILB.com about Chicago White Sox 17th ranked prospect Zack Burdi, who might be a guy, even if you're a White Sox fan, that you haven't heard about in a little while, and we're going to dive into why that is. But Rob, good to talk to you, man. How are you?
Good. Hanging in there, just doing my part in quarantine like everyone else, it seems like. How you doing, Tyler?
Doing all right, man. It's good to talk to you. And this is a great story. It's up on the site right now. And it's about a guy who, coming out of college and into the first round of the 2016 Major League Draft, looked like, man, he's going to be in Chicago in no time. 26th overall pick that year. Zack Burdi jumps into pro ball and really, really strong debut season. He pitches between 4 levels actually that year. Started out in the AZL. He was only there for 1 inning, but got some time at Class A Advance, got time at AA, got time at AAA. And then really over the last few seasons, he's been derailed, and it's been injuries, and it's been all types of stuff on the road coming back from various things. Give us kind of the lowdown on this story and how primed Zack Burdi seems to be able to finally make that step back to where he was after his draft year.
Yeah, it really is kind of just an unfortunate series of events for him. Like you said, on the fast track, White Sox make this investment. I believe he's number 27 overall that year, and gets to AAA. The following spring, he's in big league camp. He's performing well. So here he is thinking, he's basically knocking on the door to go play in the majors. And then he blows out his arm, has to have Tommy John surgery, misses a year in 2018. And then he comes back, and he seems to finally be finding his footing again, appears to be kind of back to where he was when he got drafted. And then he gets this really freak knee injury. He said he's just doing some pregame stretching, and he tears something in his knee, and it actually leads to loosening the cartilage in his knee, and he said that it would shift into his quad. And when that happened, it made him completely immobile. So he was trying to rehab the injury, doing everything he can to avoid surgery, but he said that the medical staff all got together. They said surgery was the best route. So he had to shut down again. and he finally returned to action this spring and really put up some impressive numbers going after big league hitters. And I have to say, talking to him, he was in really good spirits about the whole thing. He said, you can be down on yourself, or you can just look at this as an opportunity to grow and get better. And it's really helped me get here, and I think it's going to help me grow and really help me take that next step and be an even better pitcher in the majors. So he's back, he's healthy, and he's going to make an impact for Chicago sooner than later, I think.
Yeah, and one thing about Zack Burdi that always stood out to me was the flame-throwing ability. If you know anything about him, the first thing you think about is 101, 102 miles an hour. The guy throws incredibly hard coming out of college. In your discussions with other people around the White Sox, you're quoting, White Sox director of player development, Chris Getz. You have quotes from the White Sox pitching instructor. Where was he in terms of stuff this spring before everything got put on a hold? Because, it's one thing to be healthy again, but for him to be effective, he has to be throwing upper 90s, around 100 again. Where was he stuff-wise?
Stuff-wise, he was showing really good velocity. They did mention to me that he was right where he should be for March. So just a tick or two under 100, but they were comfortable with where he was. They did make some tweaks to his mechanics, to help him down the line, kind of prevent against future injuries. But he's kind of taken to all of it. I did hear that the ball was coming out of his hand really well, and they did some work on his slider to add tilt to his slider. So they think that pitch, which was already a plus pitch, is going to be even better.
Rob, when you talk to an organization about a guy who has dealt with so many injuries, it seems like the conversation really heavily often leans toward how he's been able to approach those mentally. And I know Chris Getz said when they got him, they were really excited just to be able to draft him. And it seems like sometimes, we see this. I know Sam Carlson is kind of a similar story right now in the Seattle Mariners organization, a guy who was drafted, I think, that same year and has barely been on a mound since. And yet it seems like the organization, even when you haven't gotten to see guys like him, guys like Zack Burdi on the mound quite as much, they almost become bigger fans of you in seeing how hard you're trying to get back at it. What was the impression that you got about how the White Sox feel about Zack Burdi as a person and the way he has, tried to attack this rehab and get back out on the mound?
That was one thing that Chris Getz actually raved about when I spoke to him. He was saying that they are so impressed with his attitude and his work ethic and just the way he doesn't really complain. There really hasn't been any, he hasn't really hung his head at all. It's always been, okay, this happened. What's the next step? Where do we go from here? How do I get back to the mound as fast as I can? And it's kind of been on both sides. Chris Getz on one end raving about his attitude and his work ethic. And on the other side, Zack Burdi was saying that he felt really appreciated and supported from the organization, and that he never felt like they turned their back on him or anything. He said he was always given every resource he needed, just completely overwhelmed by the support. And it's kind of been a two-way street there.
And when you talk about that mentality, one thing that always stands out with me about these guys is confidence. Knowing that your elbow blew out, knowing that you have a freak knee injury, I can imagine it's difficult to walk around without worrying about what could be next. Where did he seem confidence-wise in terms of how close he is to the major leagues and how close he is to being, not an everyday reliever, but a consistent performer, either at the minor or major league level?
It's funny. I actually asked him. I said, "How are you feeling health-wise?" And he said, "I feel great." And then I said, "Would you say this is the best you've ever felt?" And then he chuckled and he goes, "Well, I mean, there's a few years in high school there where I probably felt better than I do now," and we had kind of a laugh over that. But no, he said that this is completely in the back of his mind, and he said he feels great, he feels strong, and the longer you get away from it, the more you test it. He said a big part of this recovery and rehab is mental as much as it's physical. But the further away from it, the more he tries things, the more he's throwing that fastball or landing on that knee, that it's just constantly building that confidence back up for him. And he said that there's no doubts in his mind, that he's just kind of got his focus straight ahead, and that's where he's at.
Rob, with a situation coming into a season like this where, he's facing big league hitters in spring training and looking really good, I know the White Sox made a relatively early decision to reassign him to Double-A Birmingham to minor league camp, which is no big surprise, obviously. That seems like, just reading this story and evaluating where it seems like he is mentally, that seems like a really smart decision to just tell a guy like that, hey, here's where you're going to be. We're going to start you there. Obviously, you can push your way forward as it comes, but to lock him into that mentality of, all right, Southern League is where you're going. That's how the season's going to start for you. What was the impression that you got from him as to, the fact that he kind of, obviously now things are different, but had a plan of how this season was going to look when that first pitch was fired?
He was actually relieved. He knew that he wasn't going to break camp with the big league team. So he was relieved to get that assignment when he did. And what you just alluded to, Tyler, having that plan in place in that structure. And he said that right now he's kind of drawing from his rookie year when he moved so quickly. He said, some guys get reassigned or demoted and it's discouraging. But he said, for me, I have that experience of knowing how quickly you can move, that I know that if I do what I have to do, if I perform, I'm gonna be right back where I want to be. I'm gonna be to AAA, and then I'll have my shot in the majors. So the thing that stood out to me when we were talking about this was he said, you can take the decision out of their hands. If you perform and you're excelling, then they don't have a choice but to move you up. And he said, that's where I'm at right now.
And Rob, obviously everything that's going on right now is wrapped up in this coronavirus story. You were telling us off mic before we began that it was a little bit of a journey to get in touch with Burdi because you originally planned to talk to him right around the time when spring training was being canceled and there were so many team meetings going on. Tell us a little bit about that story in terms of trying to track him down, but also, at the end of your discussion, the last quote you use in here, he says, I think it's going to be a special year whenever it starts. How does something like this, a delay, affect somebody like Burdi, who was so excited to get going this year and was ramping up to have a potentially big year, not only make his major league debut, but just prove his health?
That's right. And that was a big part of how he ended things. I guess I'll start with the beginning of your question. So it was a little bit of a back and forth kind of text back and forth for 2 days because we were scheduled to talk on Thursday morning, and that was just before word came down from the commissioner to stop baseball activities. The original plan was keep everyone in camp and do private workouts and just cut out scrimmages. And then suddenly it was, well, that's not happening anymore either, so send people home. So it was last Thursday, and we were supposed to talk in the morning, and he said, I have a meeting, and then came out of the meeting, and he let me know, and he said, this coronavirus thing is shutting things down. They're trying to give us instructions and tell us what's going on. And it was just kind of a series of meetings for them. So as much as we didn't know what was going on, they didn't know what was going on either. And I have to give him a lot of credit because he stayed in very good contact with me, let me know what was going on each step of the way. And obviously we finally got the conversation done in, I guess, about 48 hours later, essentially. But yeah, it was just a really hectic time as far as everyone was just trying to get the information they could and then relay to the players. But it was so fluid that it was constantly changing. The message kept changing. So it was not just a uncertain or tenuous time for us, but it was for them as well. And then as far as getting started, I actually did ask him. I said, you must be so revved up right now. How hard is this? And he said, look, not just for baseball, for sports in general, this is our livelihood and this is what we live for, but we have to put ourselves to the side right now for the greater good. We have to do right by the fans. We have to do right by the community. So however long this takes, we just have to do our best to stay ready. And he was talking about just private workouts, staying sharp, doing whatever he had to do to make sure he stayed where he needs to be in order to excel once the season finally starts. So it really isn't just the general public. Like this is a fluid situation for everybody, as I mentioned. And he remained really inspired. He really had his spirits up. He didn't seem down at all about the situation, like really good understanding of everything. And he's he said, I have to do my part, and we all have to do our parts just to make sure, this thing doesn't spread or get any worse. And then once we get some clarity on this, we'll be ready. And that's where he is.
Rob is on Twitter, Rob Terranova at RobTNova24. He is one of our best people and also one of the large legion of Boston University alumni in the MILB.com offices. And this is a great story to have up on the site right now as kind of our first one back from last week's initial shock. And you should go read it and go follow Rob. And Rob, we can't thank you enough for the time, buddy, and stay safe and be well. And soon we'll be doing this in lighter circumstances and talking about more fun stuff.
Looking forward to it. Thanks, guys.
We are going to wish you farewell for this week's episode of the Show Before the Show. Sam Dykstra on Twitter at Sam Dykstra MILB. I am at Tyler Mon. Rob Terranova again at RobTNova24. And big thanks to Rob for joining the show. We're going to keep doing that. The one thing that Sam and I have kind of talked about over the last, couple weeks is, as things got a little bit hairier and hairier, maybe it provides an opportunity for us to be able to do some more fun and creative stuff with historical stories and player profiles and features and all that kind of stuff, which are all of our favorite things to write in large part, I think. So that's kind of exciting. And if you've got some stuff that you want to hear, whether it's on the podcast or see if we can dive into for a story or whatever it is, again, get in touch and hopefully we'll be able to have some fun through the next several weeks that we're all waiting out this weird storm that we're in.
Yeah, I actually had somebody ask me last week, a friend's brother, what do you do now? And one thing I wanted to remind him is, and it's one of the things that makes baseball great, and our job's great in particular, is that minor league baseball has a lot of teams, and all of those teams have a lot of players. There are so many stories to tell in minor league baseball. A lot of what I do,
everybody's got a story,
Exactly, right. A lot of what I do focuses on top prospects, but there are, career minor leaguers. There are people just getting going. There are 38th round picks. There are first round picks who have dropped and are trying to rebuild their stock. There's so much going around here. This well will not run dry. We'll talk to Ben a lot more about what teams are doing, and maybe we'll get more involved ourselves in type of a process, some of the stuff we talked about, what other teams do. Okay, what if we were to do that? Take you under the hood that way, or behind the curtain, what have you. There's so many things we can do, and that is a good thing. We will be here every week like we always are. We're looking forward to those opportunities to tell different stories, to bring different types of people to you guys directly. So you're not just listening to us each week, you're listening to different backgrounds and different tales. But yeah, we'll still be here. We'll still be here.
And that'll do it for this week's episode of the show. He's Sam. I'm Tyler. We'll talk to you next week.